Driver licensing and vehicle registration. In state, Ohio's driver licensing system is outlined by the Ohio Revised Code, ORC. Chapter 4507 states that no person shall operate a motor vehicle on any public road, or any public or private property used by the public, for vehicular travel or parking unless the operator has passed the required tests and obtained a license from the Registrar of Motor Vehicles. Ohio BMV driver license examinations and driver license issuance is the responsibility of the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. While the vast majority of Ohio motorists hold a regular driver license officially called a driver license Class D, the state also issues a number of other licenses: commercial driver license, CDL, motorcycle license, MC, or endorsement, scooter license or endorsement, and motorized bicycle license, moped. Note: for RC 4507.03a, 5. A motorcycle endorsement is not required for the operation of a cab-enclosed motorcycle or an autocycle in the state of Ohio. How to obtain an Ohio driver license. Persons applying for a first Ohio motor vehicle driver license must be at least 15 years and 6 months of age and must provide documentary proof of their full legal name, age, social security number, citizenship or legal presence and address upon visiting the driver license exam station and deputy registrar. See Acceptable Documents List, pages 3 to 6. If under 18 years of age, the application must be co-signed at the deputy registrar by a parent or a legal guardian at the time of application. A co-signer must present either a valid Ohio driver license or valid Ohio ID card or prove all 5 elements. See Acceptable Documents List, pages 3 to 6. All applicants must pass a vision test and a knowledge test to obtain a temporary instruction permit identification card, Typic. Applicants under 6 years of age must practice driving with a licensed parent or legal guardian that occupies the seat next to them. If 16 years of age or older, they may practice driving with a licensed driver 21 years of age or older occupying the seat next to them. First license requirements also apply to drivers who have allowed their license to expire for more than 6 months and to persons who must apply for a new license after losing their license due to a suspension or revocation. Vertical driver licenses issued to persons under the age of 21 will have a wording under 21 or under 18 will appear on the vertical driver license. Ohio driver license for those aged 21 and older will have a horizontal driver license with a yellow header bar, and the primary photo will be on the left side. There are different application procedures for new Ohio residents who already hold a valid license from another state. See Driver Licensing and Vehicle Registration. New residents, Chapter 2, for persons who wish to apply for a commercial driver license. See Commercial Driver Licensing, Chapter 3, and for persons who wish to apply for a motorcycle/scooter endorsement or a motorized bicycle operator's motorcycle/scooter and motorized bicycle regulations, Chapter 4, License. See Instructions. Study and learn all material in this digest. Visit any Ohio BMV driver exam station. See Appendix A, Driver License for First Driver License Applicants Exam Stations. No appointment is necessary to take the driver knowledge test and vision screening, but be sure to verify days and hours of operation for each exam station to obtain an Ohio Temporary Instruction Permit Identification Card, Typic, driver license, CDL, ID, motorcycle, scooter, or moped license. The applicant must present documents to prove all of the following elements: full legal name, first name, middle name, current last name, date of birth, social security number, if one has ever been assigned, U.S. citizenship or legal presence and residence, street address in Ohio. Please be advised that failure to present the required documentation as described on pages 3 to 6 of this digest could result in denial of your temporary instruction permit identification card, Typic, when reporting to the Deputy Registrar's office. At the exam station, your vision will be tested to determine if it meets minimum standards established by law. If you need corrective lenses to meet these standards, your license may be restricted to driving only when you are wearing such lenses. In certain cases, Persons with substandard vision may qualify for a restricted license which permits them to drive during daylight hours only. The application will contain a number of questions about your physical health with regard to any medical conditions. These questions must be answered truthfully and completely. Making a false statement on your application is grounds for a criminal prosecution and revocation of your license. If you have a physical condition that might affect your ability to operate a motor vehicle, the examiner will explain what steps you need to take and will provide the necessary medical forms to be completed by your doctor. The examiner will take your photograph. You must pass a driver knowledge test on Ohio motor vehicle regulations and traffic signs. The questions are multiple choice and are based on the material in this digest. You must answer 75% of the questions correctly. After you have successfully passed your vision and knowledge exams, you may obtain a receipt with a confirmation number to present at a deputy registrar agency to obtain your Typic within 60 days of passing your knowledge exam. You must bring documents that verify your full legal name, first name, middle name, current last name, date of birth, social security number, iPhone has ever been assigned, U.S. citizenship or legal presence and residence, street address in Ohio. See Acceptable Documents list, pages 3 to 6. After verifying your acceptable documents and your photo image, the deputy will proceed with the issuance of your Typic. This Typic must be retained on your person at all times during each step of the licensing process. If you lose this card, please visit your local deputy registrar agency and purchase a replacement Typic. Important: if you are under 18 years of age, your application must be co-signed by a parent or legal guardian at the time you apply. A co-signer must also present all 5 elements. See Acceptable Documents list, requirements 3 to 6. A. Parent or guardian must accompany any applicant who is under 18 years of age to the deputy registrar agency. The Typic authorizes you to practice for your skills test by driving on the street, but only when accompanied by a licensed driver 21 years of age or older occupying the seat beside you. If you are under age 16, you must drive in a parent, guardian or certified driving instructor occupying the seat beside you. Your Typic will expire 1 year from the date of issuance. Ohio law prohibits any eligible adult occupying the seat beside the person driving on a Typic from having a concentration of alcohol in the whole blood, blood serum or plasma, breath or urine. If under 18 years of age, the Typic must have been held for 6 months before you may take your skills test. If your Typic expires before you take and pass the skills test, you must return to the driver license exam station and retake and pass the knowledge and vision exams. Restrictions: safety belts must be available to all passengers and everyone must be buckled up for all holders of temporary permits. Licensed drivers who are 16 years old may not operate a motor vehicle with more than one person who is not a family member, unless accompanied by the parent, guardian or custodian. If you are a Typic holder under 18, you may not drive between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. unless with a parent, guardian or custodian who holds a valid license. If a license holder who is 17 pleads guilty to, is convicted of, or is adjudicated in juvenile court of committing a moving violation during the first 6 months in which they received their license, the driver must be accompanied by a parent or guardian whenever operating a motor vehicle for 6 months or until the holder turns 18, unless the court or juvenile court imposes such a restriction upon the holder. When you have developed your driving skills, contact any exam station to schedule a skills test. If you are unable to keep the appointment, notify the exam station as soon as possible so someone else can be scheduled. All customers taking the skills test must understand directions given in the English language. When you go to the exam station to take your skills test, you must bring your valid Typic. Customers who are under 18 years of age must also bring a driver education certificate. See Driver Education Requirement, this chapter, and the notarized 50 hours affidavit. You must furnish a vehicle for your road test, and it must be in safe open condition. Before your test is administered, the examiner will your vehicle. If it cannot pass inspection, see Inspection Standards, Chapter 5, the examiner can refuse to administer a test. During the driving portion, the examiner will ask you to perform a number of driving tasks. These may include stopping and starting, turning around, backing, making proper left and right turns, giving hand signals or using mechanical turn signals, driving in the proper lane, and maintaining a safe following distance. The purpose of the skills test is to determine whether you have successfully developed the required ability to operate your motor vehicle safely. To schedule a road test, visit www.ohiodrivingtest.com. The skills test has two parts, driving and maneuverability. During the test, you must have your safety belt fastened and drive with both hands on the steering wheel for complete control. The maneuverability test is conducted in 2 steps. Each step is to be completed in one continuous motion. The only instructions you will be given by the examiner are to steer to the right or the left of the point marker. Step 1. You must drive forward through a box, 9 feet by 20 feet, formed by 4 markers. Note, all measurements are made from the center of the cone. Steer to the right or left of the point marker, 20 feet ahead of box and center of course, as directed by the examiner. Steer to a straight-ahead course and stop when the rear bumper of your car is even with the point marker and generally parallel with the course. See diagram. Step 2. From your stopped position at the end of Step 1, you must be able to back past the point marker. Straighten your car and back through the box and come to a stop with your front bumper even with the 2 rear markers and generally parallel with the course. During this step, if you stop your vehicle because you hit a marker, you must go back to the start and begin Step 2 again. Before the test is complete, your vehicle must be removed from the test area without running over a marker or committing any other dangerous action. When you have successfully completed your skills test, the examiner may provide you with a receipt acknowledging completion of your skills test. You are not authorized to operate a motor vehicle without a licensed driver occupying the seat beside you. The Ohio driver license must be obtained before the expiration date of your Typic. You must proceed to the deputy registrar and surrender your Typic. You will also be required to present acceptable documents, refer to 3 to 6, and pay all applicable fees. For current fees, visit www.bmv.ohio.gov. Applicants under the age of 18 must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian to co-sign, who must also present either a valid driver license or a valid Ohio ID card or 2 other forms of acceptable documents verifying identification. See Acceptable Documents List, 3 to 6. Maneuverability Test Diagram. Front rear point. Step 1 point. Step 2 course marker scoring points are deducted for stopping to check progress. Bumping markers. Misjudging stopping distance not parallel with test area. Immediate failure equals running over of knocking down a marker, removing a marker completely from its designated area or other dangerous action. Middle. Note: the parent or legal guardian who co-signs a minor's application for a license is jointly and separately liable with the minor for any damages caused by negligence or willful misconduct while operating a motor vehicle until the minor has passed his or her 18th birthday. If the minor is involved in a collision, co-signer liability can be eliminated by filing proof of financial responsibility on behalf of the minor with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. See Financial Responsibility Chapter 6. Driver education requirement. If you are applying for a driver license before your 18th birthday, your driver education consisting of 2 must obtain either commercial or high school driver education (RS) classroom instruction and 8 hours of driving instruction. Use also provide a notarized affidavit signed by a parent or guardian at least completion of 50 hours of driving experience before taking the ski. 10 of these hours must be night driving. A river education certificate presented when taking the skills test. To find the current list of DeSchools schools, refer to www.drivertrainingohio.gov and click on Approved Schedule a Road Test. Visit www.ohiodrivingtest.com BTLS. To failure to pass test. If you fail the knowledge test, you must wait at least 24 hours when taking the skills test. You will usually take the menu of the exam first. Upon successful completion of the Maneuverability Test, TC-TI test, the Road Skills Test 10 will be administered. If you fail either of the tests, you must wait at least 7 days before retesting. Only the section you failed must be retaken. If you fail the skills tests 4 times, you must wait 6 months before retesting. Foreign language tests/oral tests/tests for hearing impaired customers may take the knowledge test in Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, Russian, French, Somali, and Japanese. In order to pass, however, all customers must be able to understand directions and read traffic signs printed in English. For information on how to take a knowledge test in any other language, contact any driver license exam station. At the discretion of the examiner, those who cannot read or write well enough to take a knowledge test may be permitted to take an audio version of the test in English. All such applicants must at least be able to read and comprehend traffic signs. The hearing impaired who are unable to read or write well enough to take a knowledge test may take a knowledge test administered by an interpreter or in video format. Non-renewable/non-transferable driver license. Temporary residents who are foreign nationals residing in Ohio temporarily may obtain a non-renewable/non-transferable Ohio driver license, not to exceed 4 years, which expires on the date indicated on the appropriate document issued by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. A non-renewable non-transferable driver license allows individuals to drive in Ohio and other states, but it cannot be transferred to another state. The words non-renewable/non-transferable will appear on the driver license card below the signature. Non-U.S. citizens who are applying for a Typic must follow the instructions on page 7 of this digest. After you have successfully passed your vision and knowledge test, you must visit a deputy registrar agency where driver licenses are issued, listed under license services in your yellow pages or at www.bmv.ohio.gov/county-first. STM. You must bring your key hash, issued by the exam station, to the deputy registrar and the following documents: a valid, unexpired passport or passport card, a U.S. visa form 1-94 issued by United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, USCIS, and one of the following: 2, 3, 4. USCIS Form I-20, student or student dependent, or USCIS, employment eligibility verification, not expired more than. Any other BSIS-issued document approved by the Bureau of Motor. You will be required to present unexpired documents verifying your legal USCIS Form IAP 66 or DS 2019, exchange visitor status, or 60 days, or vehicles present in the United States at the time of renewal or for any other driver license or stay. This rule also applies to those under the age of 21 who cannot obtain a driver translation request throughout the duration of your stay. This rule under Ohio law, no driver license or Typic may be issued to an under Ohio law, registrar of motor vehicles is suffering from ease which prevents the person from or a motor vehicle on highways. For full details of IS provision, see Restricted License 2. Is unable to understand traffic signs and directions in the any physical or mental disability or disease which prevents below, exercising reasonable and ordinary control of language. 3. Is an alcoholic or is addicted to the use of drugs or controlled substance to the extent that such use impairs a person's ability to operate a 4. Has been judged mentally ill or incompetent and has not been restored to competency by judicial decree. 5. Is or has been subject to any condition, such as epilepsy, resulting episodic impairment of consciousness or loss of muscular control unless a qualified physician certifies that such condition is under control of medication or remission. For full details of this provision, see Restricted is under suspension or revocation from Ohio or another jurisdiction. 7. License below 6. Is not a citizen of the United States, due to legal presence law without legal documentation. Persons with certain medical problems or disabilities are issued restricted driver licenses which impose some limitation on driving privileges. Many common restrictions: lenses required, all hand controls, special mirrors required, can be noted by the examiner and indicated on your license. Restricted license: a restricted license may be issued to any person otherwise qualified who is subject to a condition must present a statement from an L, stating a person licensed physician that the condition is under effective medical control the period of time for which such control has been continuously maintained. When provided with a statement, the registrar may refuse a license if 2 medical examinations are given, and grounds for denial of a license or when a physician's statement forms are furnished by the exam station's ward physical or mental disability is indicated. If continued medical reports are in order to revalidate a restricted license, the necessary forms are Bureau of Motor Vehicles military personnel every person on active duty, and for 6 months following discharge active duty, and any member of the United States Armed Forces VI.S.T.A. is exempt from Ohio driver licensing requirements. Pro person held a valid Ohio driver license at the time he or she and service to any Ohio resident returning to Ohio after being honorably discharged from the military service, Peace Corps or VISTA, without a mental or physical disability that would affect driving, may renew his or her expired driver license without undergoing a new examination, providing a. the person held a valid Ohio license when entering the military service, and b. the renewal application is filed no later than 6 months following the discharge. These provisions also apply to military spouses and dependents. There are provisions in place for active duty military and their dependents to renew or apply for a replacement of their Class D operator's driver license via mail while they are stationed outside the state of Ohio. The request for an out-of-state renewal package should be made by contacting our telecommunications department at 614-752-7600 or www.bmv.ohio.gov with clicking on Contact BMV and email the registrar. Farm vehicle operators. Under Ohio law, no person is required to obtain a driver license for the sole purpose of operating a road roller, other road machinery, farm tractor or other farm implement which is drawn or propelled on a street or highway. Any person who operates a passenger car or a truck registered as a farm vehicle on public roadways is required to hold a valid license. Renewing your license. Unless you receive a short-term medically restricted license, your Ohio driver license will expire on your 4th birthday after the date of issuance. If renewed more than 90 days before expiration, it will expire 3 years after issuance. If a license is issued prior to your 21st birthday, the license will expire on your 21st birthday. If you are under age 21, you are not eligible for renewal unless you are within 30 days of your 21st birthday. It is your responsibility to know when your license will expire. The expiration date is printed on the face of every license. To obtain a renewal license, 1. Go to the nearest deputy registrar license agency at any time before your license expires. You will need to present your Ohio driver license and any additional documents if requested. See Acceptable Documents List 3 to 6. If you renew more than 90 days before your expiration date, you will have to renew again in 3 years rather than 4 years. 2. If you are eligible to renew and successfully complete the vision screening examination, the deputy registrar will update information on your license, collect the proper fees. For current fees, visit www.bmv.ohio.gov, take your photo, and issue your new 4-year license immediately. There is no grace period for renewing your license. If you continue to veil your license after it has expired, you will be risking a traffic citation. If failed to renew within 45 days after the date of expiration, the Bureau of Motor will mail an expiration notice to your last known address. Regardless of this notice, you will still be subject to a citation for driving on an expired license. 13 level is equivalent to the amount installed as standard equipment of most new cars. Front seat driver/passenger side windows. The tinting must allow 50% transmission, plus or minus 3%. Motorists can call their local highway patrol post for the location of the nearest motor vehicle inspection team to see if their windows comply with the law. Violation of the law is considered a minor misdemeanor, with fines up to $100. E-Check certificate. E-Check is the name for Ohio's automobile emissions test. This pollution control inspection program was designed to increase the air quality in certain counties in Ohio. These counties are Cuyahoga, Geauga, Lake, Lorain, Medina, Portage, and Summit. An E-Check certificate may be required before a motor vehicle can be registered in these counties. Generally, most vehicles that you are registering for the first time must be inspected. Odd-numbered model year vehicles are inspected when the expiration date is in an odd-numbered year, and even-numbered model year vehicles are inspected when the expiration date is in an even-numbered year. Purchasing a multi-year registration does not exempt your vehicle from emissions testing. For further information about the E-Check program, call 1-800-CAR-TEST. 6 Traffic laws. Knowledge of Ohio laws will help you pass your tests and be a better driver. Lanes. Keep to the right. Drive on the right half of the roadway except 1. when overtaking and passing another vehicle proceeding in the same 2. 3. Direction. When driving on a road divided into 3 or more marked lanes. When driving on a road designed and posted with signs for one-way traffic. When otherwise directed by a police officer or traffic control device. When an obstruction makes it necessary for you to drive left of center, yield the right-of-way to all vehicles traveling in the proper direction on the unobstructed portion of the highway. 4. 5. Multiple lane roads. When a road has been divided into 4 or more marked lanes, or where traffic within municipalities is lawfully moving in 2 or more continuous lines in the same direction, the following rules apply. A vehicle shall be driven as closely as possible within a single lane of traffic. It shall not be moved from the lane until the driver has first determined that such movement can be made safe. Be given before lane changes. A turn signal must 37 on a roadway divided into 3 lanes. A vehicle shall not head to the center lane except where that center lane is devoted so exclusively to NG. Traffic moving in the direction the driver is proceed to slow traffic or stay as close as possible to the right-hand curb or edge of the emergency vehicles. Vehicles moving slower than the traffic flow must use the available roadway upon the approach of an emergency vehicle displaying flashing lights and an audible signal. The driver must immediately drive to a position parallel to the right edge or curb of the road or highway and stop. Drivers must be careful not to two-lane road of 4 or more lanes. Use lane right of center to pass and make left turns. Never drive left of center. Drive in right lane except when passing. Drive in right lane. 38 Bach intersections. All vehicles must remain in this position until the emergency vehicle has passed or when directed otherwise by a law enforcement officer. When an emergency, stationary public safety and/or road service vehicle is stopped alongside the roadway with its lights flashing, the driver of vehicles saying it must reduce their speed. Furthermore, whenever it is possible, the driver should change lanes to pass the emergency vehicle in a lane that is not adjacent to where the emergency vehicle stopped. ORC 4511.213. Divided highway. A vehicle shall not be driven over, across or within any dividing space, barrier or section of a highway, except through an opening or crossover established by authority. Such dividing space, barrier or section may be occupied for an emergency stop or in compliance with an order of a police officer. Turns right. Turn right as close as possible to the right-hand curb or edge of the road. Right-hand turn on red. In Ohio, it is legal to turn right after stopping at a red traffic signal, but only when 1. 2. There is no sign posted at the intersection forbidding right turns on red. You have come to a complete stop and have allowed all crossing traffic and all pedestrians to proceed through the intersection, and you can clearly see that the turn can be completed safely. 3. Left turn. The driver of a vehicle intending to turn left at an intersection where traffic is moving in both directions on each road entering the intersection shall make the approach in the right half of the road nearest the center line. The turn should be made into the lane on the right half of the street nearest the center line. At an intersection where traffic is restricted to one direction on one or more of the road shall make the approach in the extreme left-hand lane. Turn into the lane farthest left where traffic in that direction is allowed. Middle dot is required to yield the right-of-way to any vehicle approaching from the opposite direction. Prior to engaging a left-hand turn, the driver may wait for oncoming traffic to clear the intersection. One may advance in the intersection as a prelude to turning, provided that no other traffic control devices prohibit this action. Diagram on next page. From 4-lane with turning lane to 2-lane street. From 2-lane to 4-lane street. From 4-lane to 2-lane street. From 4-lane to one-way street. From one-way to one-way street. From one-way street to 4-lane street. Correct methods of making left turns. Left turn on red. Under limited circumstances, it is legal to end red traffic signal. A left turn on red may be made only from the extreme left lane of a one-way street to the extreme left lane of another one-way street, providing there is no sign posted forbidding a left turn on red. It is against the law to make a left turn on red except from one-way street to another. When making such a turn, you must come to a complete stop and allow all crossing traffic and all pedestrians to clear the intersection before you proceed. A left turn after stopping at a 40 signal. A turn signal must be given at least 100 feet before the intended turn. This may be accomplished by using either a mechanical signal or the appropriate hand/arm signal. Right turn slow or stop. Left turn stopping. A driver must stop 1. Behind the stop line or crosswalk at any stop sign or the red traffic signal. Behind the stop line or crosswalk at any red traffic signal where right or left turns on red are permitted. The driver may only proceed with the legal turn on red after coming to a full stop and yielding the right of way to all crossing traffic and to all pedestrians crossing the intersection. At a flashing red traffic signal, yielding to all traffic that does not have to stop. At a sidewalk, or if there is no sidewalk, at a point prior to entering the roadway, when emerging from an alley, driveway or private road on a business or residential district. Drivers must yield the right of way to any pedestrian on the sidewalk. Before entering an intersection if there is not sufficient space on the other side to accommodate the vehicle. The law applies whether or not a traffic signal gives a driver the right to proceed. At the approach of a public safety vehicle, such as a police car, fire engine or ambulance, displaying flashing lights and sounding a warning signal, unless the vehicle is traveling in the opposite direction on a divided highway, drivers should move as far as possible to the right 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until the emergency vehicle has passed. Stopping for a school bus. When a school bus is stopped on a roadway to pick up or drop off passengers, the following regulations apply to other drivers on the roadway. 1. When a school bus driver is preparing to stop the bus, he or she activates 4 amber lights, 2 on the front and 2 on the rear of the bus. These lights continue to flash until the bus is fully stopped. Other vehicles are not required to stop during this preliminary stage of the 41-8 light warning but should prepare to stop as soon as the HAO to a full stop. When the bus comes to a completo, flashing while the children enter or leave the bus. In a DAO and all traffic approaching the bus from either direction must stop at least at 3. If the bus is stopped on a street or road which has 4 or more lanes, stop flashing and 4 red lights, 2 in front and 2 in LGS with flashing red lights is automatically extended beneath it. The bus is stopped on a street or road which has fewer than 4 begins to move or the bus driver signals motorists to proceed. Only traffic proceeding in the same direction as the bus must stop. The left side of the bus. 2. Must stop at least 10 feet from the front or rear of the bus and remain stopped until the school bus drivers believing a motorist has unlawfully passed the stop will, if possible, report the license plate number to the law enforcement bus agent having jurisdiction over the area where the alleged violation occurred. The law enforcement agency will attempt to determine the identity of the driver, and if the identity is established, the reporting of the license plate number by the school bus driver establishes probable cause upon which to issue a citation. Failure to establish the identity of the driver will result in the enforcement agency sending a warning letter to the registered owner stating that a motor vehicle registered to the owner was reported as having unlawfully passed a stopped school bus. Stopping distance. The distance it takes to stop your vehicle depends on your reaction time, speed at which you are traveling, the condition of your brakes and the condition of the pavement, wet, dry, icy. A driver must maintain sufficient distance between his or her vehicle and the vehicle ahead. Some safety experts advise drivers to allow 1 car length ahead for each 10 miles per hour of speed. Others suggest following the 3-second rule. Watch the vehicle ahead pass a stationary object, such as a lamp post, counting 1001, 1002, 1003. If you pass the lamppost before you say 3, you are following too closely and should slow your speed. In bad weather, increase the space to 4 or 5 seconds traveling time. Yielding. A driver must yield the right of way. 1. When directed by a yield sign. 2. WHN crossing or entering a through highway from a smaller, less 3, 4, 5. Traveled road to a vehicle approaching from the right at an intersection of 2 similar roads without a traffic control device. To a pedestrian in a marked crosswalk, or at an unmarked crosswalk at an intersection. On the approach of a public safety vehicle, see stopping. Number 6. 6 for all vehicles which are part of a funeral procession. Each vehicle in the funeral procession must have its headlights lit and must display a purple and white pennant. To oncoming traffic when making a left turn. To traffic approaching an intersection before making a right turn at a red light. 7. 8. Passing roughly to the road. Ohio law provides that on a road with only one line of traffic in each direction, drivers are to use the right half of the traveled portion of the road. Under certain circumstances, however, vehicle operators are permitted to pass slow-moving traffic that is traveling in the same direction. It is generally safer and more consistent with the law to pass on the left of slower vehicles. Under any circumstance, the law requires that a driver signal the intention to pass by using a turn signal prior to passing. Passing to the left when passing traffic traveling in the same direction. No vehicle shall be driven to the left of the center of the road unless the left side is clearly visible and is free of oncoming traffic for a sufficient distance ahead. Passing shall be completed without interfering with the safe operation of traffic approaching from the opposite direction or any vehicle being overtaken. Passing is not permitted under the following circumstances. 1. When approaching the crest of a grade or a curve in the roadway where the driver's view is obstructed and the driver cannot see if the pass will interfere with oncoming traffic. Within 100 feet of a bridge, viaduct or tunnel when the driver's view is obstructed. Within 100 feet of approaching an intersection within 100 feet of a railroad grade crossing. 2. 3. 4. The limits above do not apply to traffic traveling on a one-way street or when passing to the left. The law requires that a driver overtaking another sound the horn to warn the driver of the vehicle being overtaken that he/2. Signal the intent to pass. On a roadway with 2 or more lanes for travel in the same direction. Vehicle do these things. She is about to be passed. Pass to the left of the vehicle being overtaken at a safe distance and return to the right side of the roadway only after the overtaking vehicle is safely clear of the vehicle being overtaken. Return to the right lane as soon as the pass has been safely completed and before coming within 200 feet of any approaching vehicle. 3. 4. 43. When a driver is being passed by another vehicle, the law requires of the slower vehicle to maintain a constant speed and the other driver has safely passed to the right until the A vehicle may pass on the right only under the following conditions. 1. When the vehicle being overtaken is about to make a left turn. Passing to the right. 2. When the pavement is wide enough for 2 or more lines of train moving in the same direction as the overtaking vehicle. Under either circumstance, it is essential that the driver of the passing vehicle first determine that the slower moving vehicle can be overtaken safely. The driver must not drive off the roadway in order to overtake the slower vehicle. Speed limits. Vehicles may not be driven at speeds greater or less than reasonable, depending on conditions of traffic, road and weather. A driver must keep the vehicle under control in order to be able to bring it to a stop within assured clear distance ahead. It is unlawful to drive at a speed exceeding 15 miles per hour in all alleys within a municipal corporation. 20 miles per hour when passing a school building or grounds, school zones, during school recess and while children are going to or leaving school during the opening and closing hours, and when 20 miles per hour school speed limit signs are erected. 25 miles per hour in all other portions of a municipal corporation, except state routes and through highways outside business districts and alleys. Middle. 35 miles per hour on all state routes or through highways except controlled access highways within municipal corporations outside business districts. 50 miles per hour on state routes within municipal corporations outside urban districts, unless a lower speed is established visibly on a sign. 5 miles per hour, the maximum speed limit at all times, for vehicles weighing more than 8,000 pounds and non-commercial buses. 55 miles per hour, the maximum speed limit, on all other highways. 60 and 65 miles per hour on designated highways for vehicles weighing 8,065 miles per hour at all times on freeways with paved shoulders inside municipal. 65 miles per hour on rural interstates for vehicles weighing 8,000 pounds or more. A person shall operate a vehicle at such a slow speed as to impede or block pounds or less in commercial buses corporations unless a lower speed is established on a sign. Minimum speed limits the normal and reasonable movement of traffic, except when reduced speed necessary for safe operation or to posted uncontrolled access highways comply with the law. Minimum speed limits. Racing on public roads. No driver shall participate in a race on a public road. A race consists of or more vehicles, starting from a point side by side and accelerating in a attempt to outdistance each other, or one or more vehicles over a main course. From the same point to the same point, when the vehicles are at for the competitive acceleration of speeds. Persons assisting in any manner competitive in such competitive use of vehicles shall be equally charged as participants. Railroad grade crossings. Highway departments and railroad companies have clearly marked public highway rail crossings with warning signs. Advance warning signs advise drivers to look, listen and slow down. Warning devices. Pavement markings, consisting of an X and the letters RR, may be painted on the pavement of the approach to some crossings. Railroad crosswalk signs are found at many public crossings. These signs must be obeyed the same as a yield sign. The driver should slow down and be track. A sign below the crosswalk indicates the number of tracks at the crossing. Flashing red light signals are used with crosswalk signs at many highway rail crossings. Drivers must stop no closer than 15 feet and no farther than 50 feet from the crossing when the lights are flashing. Flashing lights mean a train is coming. If there is more than one track, make sure all tracks are clear before crossing. Gates are used with flashing red light signals at certain crossings. Stop when the lights begin to flash and before the gates begin to lower across your traffic lane, at no closer than 15 feet and no farther than 50 feet from the crossing. Do not attempt to cross until the gates are raised and the lights have stopped flashing. Stop signs indicate all vehicles must stop and yield. Vehicles that must stop before crossing a railroad grade outside of municipalities. 1, 2, 3. Motor vehicles carrying passengers for hire. All school buses. Vehicles carrying material or materials required to be placarded under 49 CFR Parts 100 to 185. This rule does not apply to highway rail grade crossings within a municipal corporation or to abandoned tracks, spur tracks, side tracks and industrial tracks when the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio has authorized and approved the 45 crossings of such tracks without making the stop required. While stopped, the operator of any of the above vehicles shall listen through an open door or window and look in both directions for an approaching train for signals indicating the approach of a train, and shall proceed with care. Safety tips on railroad crossing. Safety 1. Expect a train on any track at any time. Most trains do not travel on a regular schedule. 2. Don't get trapped on a grade crossing. Never drive onto a rock crossing until you are sure you can clear the tracks. Once you have started to cross the tracks, keep going, especially if you see a train approaching. 3. Never drive around a lowered gate. It is illegal and deadly. 4. Watch for a second train. When you are at a multiple track crossing, do not proceed until you are sure that no other train is coming on another track, especially from the opposite direction. If your vehicle stalls while on the tracks and a train is approaching, unfasten your safety belt, get out of the vehicle, and run as far away from the tracks as you can. Run towards the direction the train is approaching. If you run from the train, you may be hit by debris when the train strikes your vehicle. 5. 6. Never shift gears while crossing the tracks. If your vehicle has a manual transmission, shift down before reaching the tracks. Never race a train. Watch for vehicles that must stop at highway rail grade crossings. Don't misjudge the train's speed and distance. Because of the large size of the train, it appears to be moving much slower than it actually is. Trains cannot stop quickly. 7. 8. 9. 10. Be alert, especially at night, for rail crossing warning signs. Be sure you can stop within the distance illuminated by your headlights. Be careful and reduce your speed when obstructions block your view. 11. Parking. A vehicle must be parked facing the direction of traffic on that side of the street, parallel to and not more than 12 inches from the right curb. On one-way streets, vehicles may be parked parallel to and not more than 12 inches from the right or left curb. Local ordinances permit angle parking in some jurisdictions. Stopping, parking or standing prohibited. No person shall stop, park or stand a vehicle in any of the following places, except when necessary to avoid conflict with other traffic, or in compliance with the directions of a law enforcement officer or traffic control device. 1, 2, 3, 4. On a sidewalk, except a bicycle, in front of a public or private driveway within an intersection within 10 feet of a fire hydrant. 46.5. On a crosswalk. 6. Within 20 feet of a crosswalk or intersection. 7. Within 30 feet of a flashing beacon. Stop sign or traffic control signal between a safety zone and the adjacent curb or within 30 feet of points on the curb immediately opposite the ends of a safety zone, unless the 8. Traffic authority indicates a different length by signs or markings. 9. Within 50 feet of the nearest rail of a railroad crossing. 10. Beside or opposite a street excavation or obstruction when such parking would obstruct traffic. 11. Alongside a vehicle stopped or parked at the edge or curb of a street. 12. On a highway, bridge or within a highway tunnel. 13. At any place where signs prohibit parking. 14. Within 1 foot of another parked vehicle. 15. On a roadway portion of a freeway, expressway or throughway parking for motorists with disabilities. No person shall park any motor vehicle at special parking locations designated with the handicapped symbol unless the motor vehicle is displaying a state-issued parking card or special license plates for those with disabilities. Plates may be issued to persons with disabilities who own a motor vehicle whose vehicles have been altered with special equipment to accommodate persons with disabilities. A card may be issued to any Ohio resident who has a mobility disability as outlined in Ohio law. The placard may be displayed in any vehicle that is transporting the person who is disabled. The special license plates and placards allow police to identify drivers legitimately using handicapped parking spots. Violators are subject to a citation and fine on private as well as public property. A prescription from their healthcare provider is required. Applications for placards or license plates may be obtained from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, 1970 West Broad Street, Columbus, 43223, online at www.bmvohio.gov/disabilityplacards.stm, or any deputy registrar or license agency. The license plates must be renewed annually through the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. The placard is valid for up to 5 years. Veterans with the service connected may obtain a placard at no cost. For information, call the BMV at 1-800-DISABILITY 589-8247. Safety belts. Ohio's mandatory safety belt usage law requires drivers and front seat occupants of most passenger vehicles to wear safety belts whenever they drive or ride in a motor vehicle on Ohio's roadways. If you are a driver under 18 years of age, the number of vehicle occupants is limited to the total number of originally installed safety belts. All occupants must be wearing safety belts when the vehicle being driven by a probationary license holder. The law provides for a $30 fine for drivers and a $20 fine for front seat passengers found to be unbelted when stopped for another violation. 47. This law exempts from compliance: 1. Children already covered by the safety restraint law. 2. Persons operating vehicles to deliver mail or new for home delivery. 3. Persons who carry an affidavit from their describing the medical conditions which preclude safety belt use, and 4. In vehicles manufactured before 1966. Persons in vehicles equipped with are not exempt from the safety belt law. A violation of the safety belt law is not a moving violation and carries no points on your permanent driving record. Child restraints. Infants and children who are either or both under the age of 4 and weigh less than 40 pounds must be properly restrained in an approved child safety seat while being transported in a motor vehicle. The child seats you select must be labeled as meeting federal safety standards and be designed to meet the needs of your particular motor vehicle. A child safety seat law violation is a primary offense. The law applies to all drivers of all vehicles that are owned, leased or otherwise under the control of their agency to use a car seat when transporting children. The law also applies to handicapped and medically fragile children. Exemptions: public safety vehicles, taxi cabs and vehicles not required by law to be equipped with safety belts at the time of manufacture. Fines for a child safety seat law violation are $25, $100 for a first offense, minor misdemeanor, $250 maximum for a second or subsequent offense, misdemeanor of the 4th degree, and/or imprisonment of not more than 30 days. The Ohio Department of Health has a toll-free number, 1-800-755-GROW, for information on child passenger safety and the law. Other resources are available on the Ohio Department of Health website, www.o.ohio.gov. Age 4 and 40 pounds to age 8. When any child who is at least 4 years of age but less than 8 years of age is being transported in a motor vehicle, The operator of the vehicle shall have the child properly restrained in a booster seat unless the child is 4 feet 9 inches or taller. Exemptions: public safety vehicles, taxi cabs and vehicles not required by law to be equipped with safety belts at the time of manufacture less than age 15. When any child who is at least 4 years of age but not older than 15 years of age is being transported in a motor vehicle, the operator of the vehicle shall have the child properly restrained either in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions in a child restraint system that meets federal motor vehicle safety standards or in an occupant restraining device as defined in Section 4513.263 of the Revised Code. A violation of this section is a secondary offense and carries the same fine as child safety seat violations. Exemptions: public safety vehicles, taxi cabs and vehicles not required by law to be equipped with safety belts at the time of manufacture. 48. Obstruction of vision obstructs the driver's vision. Riding on the outside of a vehicle. Ohio law forbids vehicles to be overloaded with passengers or cargo that no person shall hang onto or ride on the outside of any moving motor vehicle. No driver of a truck, trailer or semi-trailer shall knowingly permit any person under the age of 16 to ride in the unenclosed or unroofed cargo storage area of the vehicle if it is traveling faster than 25 miles per hour, unless any of the following apply. 1. The cargo storage area of the vehicle is equipped with a properly secured seat and a safety belt that is in compliance with federal standards for occupant restraining devices. 2. An emergency exists that threatens the life of the driver or the person being transported in the cargo storage area of the truck, trailer or semi-trailer. The passengers are workers performing specialized highway or street maintenance or construction under the authority of a public agency. 3. Operating a vehicle while impaired. OVI. Ohio's legal drinking age for alcohol is 21. Driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs is against the law in Ohio. Evidence of impaired driving is based on physical findings by the arresting officer and the results of a blood, breath, plasma or urine test. It is unlawful to operate a vehicle with a blood alcohol concentration, BAC, of 0.08% or higher. If you refuse to submit to a blood alcohol test, or if the result of a test taken within 3 hours of the arrest shows a BAC of 0.08% or higher, the arresting officer will confiscate your license. You may request a court hearing. In order to have this administrative suspension terminated, you must prove one of the following: the officer did not have reasonable grounds of OV2. 1. The officer did not request that you take the blood alcohol test. 3. The officer did not tell you the consequences of refusing or failing the test. Or 4. You did not refuse or fail the test. Administrative license suspension/refusal: if you are arrested for driving while under the influence of alcohol or any drug of abuse, or a combination of both, or for physical control of a vehicle while under the influence, you will be requested to take a chemical test to determine the alcohol and/or drug content of your blood. You also have the right to have a qualified person of your choice administer the test again once it has been conducted under the direction of a police officer, provided the second test is made. If you submit to the test and were stopped for OV and test above the legal limit, a sworn statement will be sent to the Registrar of Motor Vehicles, who will then suspend your license for a period of 90 days to 3 years. 49. If you refuse to take a test, a sworn statement to that effect will be sent to the Registrar of Motor Vehicles. The registrar is then required to suspend the license for a period of 1 to 5 years for refusing to take the test, even if ultimately acquitted of the OV charge. If you don't have a driver license, you will be denied the right to apply for a license for the same period in addition to the other penalties involved for driving without a license. Penalties: administrative license suspension for a refusal of the BAC test will last from 2 to 5 years, depending on the number of prior refusals within 6 years. For a test failure, the administrative license suspension will last from 90 days to 1 years, depending on the number of prior OV convictions within 6 years. Those convicted of an OV offense are subject to the mandatory penalties of time in jail, a court-imposed driver license suspension, and a minimum of $375 to a maximum of $10,500 fine. Penalties are based upon the number of previous OV convictions over a 6-year period. First offense at least 72, consecutive hours in jail and court license. Second offense, at least 10 consecutive days in jail and court license. Third offense, at least 30 consecutive days in jail and court license. Suspension from 6 months to 3 years. Suspension from 1 to 5 years. Suspension from 1 to 10 years. Fourth offense, at least 60 consecutive days in jail and court license. Suspension from 3 years to permanent revocation. The fifth or subsequent OV offense on or after September 30, 2008, will be placed on Ohio's habitual O/home V offender registry. This registry is accessible to the public via the Internet. Those convicted of 2 or more impaired driving offenses are also subject to having their vehicle immobilized or forfeited. 4 or more impaired driving convictions within 6 years is a felony offense. If you are convicted of OV with a BAC of 17% or above, you will face more severe penalties. The penalties: if you refuse to submit to a chemical test, have a prior OV conviction within the previous 20 years, and are subs convicted of OV, will also be severe. Equivalently, to regain a suspended license, all ALS and or OV offenders must pay a reinstatement fee and show proof of a policy for liability insurance. Or motorists who are convicted of vehicular homicide or aggravated V homicide and are judged to have been under the influence of alcohol or the time of the offense will, in addition to other penalties, suffer PERMA of driving privileges at NERD 02 BAC for drivers under 21 years old. The law authorizes police to file charges against drivers under the age of 21 50 who have a blood alcohol concentration, BAC, of at least 0.02% but less than 0.08%. The offense is called operating a vehicle after underage consumption. The penalties include driver license suspension for not less than 60 days but not more than 2 years, as well as taking a remedial driving course and the complete driver license examination prior to reissuance of your driver license, and 4 points assessed to your license. There will also be a license reinstatement fee, and you will be required to show proof of a policy for liability insurance or bond. Drugs: Ohio law also forbids driving under the influence of drugs, or a combination of alcohol and drugs. Even prescription or over-the-counter medicines can have detrimental effects on your driving ability. False driver license: no person can use a falsified driver license or one that has been altered or belongs to someone else to buy alcoholic beverages. The penalty for this law is an automatic 1-year suspension of driving privileges. The law also provides that anyone loaning or knowingly permitting a minor to use a driver license to buy alcohol can be sentenced to 6 months in jail and pay fines up to $1,000. Point law: any Ohio driver convicted of a traffic violation is assessed a specific number of penalty points according to the type of violation. Should that driver be convicted of a second or subsequent offense within 2 years after the first violation, the point assessment for the new violation is added to the previous total. The number of penalty points given to a violator are assessed by the court system. Following is a schedule of point assessments for specific violations. 6-point violations: homicide by vehicle, operating a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol and or any drug of abuse, failure to stop and disclose identity at the scene of a collision, willingly fleeing or eluding a law enforcement officer, racing, operating a vehicle without the consent of the owner, using a vehicle in the commission of a felony, or committing any crime punishable as a felony under Ohio Motor Vehicle Laws 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4-point violations: willful or wanton disregard of the safety of persons or property. 2-point violations: 1, 2. All moving violations and some speed offenses: operating a motor vehicle in violation of a restriction imposed by the Registrar of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. 51. Speeding violations: a speeding violation may result in 4 points, 2 points or no point depending on the speed limit in effect and the number of miles per hour, and which the sped MC by 30 miles per hour or more results in 4 points. By exceeding any speed limit by 30 miles per hour or more results in 4 points. If the speed limit is 55 miles per hour or more, exceeding the limit by more than 10 but less than 30 miles per hour results in 2 points. 5 but less than 30 miles per hour results in 2 points. No points. If the speed limit is less than 55 miles per hour, exceeding the limit by more than Exceeding any speed limit in an amount less than stated above results in penalties. Speed limit 1 to 5 miles per hour over 6 to 10 miles per hour over 11 to 29 miles per hour over 30 miles per hour or more over below 5 miles per hour. No points. 2 points. 2 points. 4 points. 5 miles per hour or more. No points. No points. 2 points. 4 points. A driver who has accumulated 6 points in a 2-year period will receive a letter from the Registrar of Motor Vehicles warning that the law provides the following penalties for drivers accumulating 12 or more points in a 2-year period. 1. Driving privileges will be suspended for 6 months. Proof of financial responsibility, see this chapter, must be filed with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and maintained for 3 years to 5 years. After the suspension is served, a remedial driving course approved by the Director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety must be taken. The course must include a minimum of 25% of the number of classroom hours devoted to instruction on driver attitude. Pay a reinstatement fee of $40. Must take the complete driver exam. 2, 3, 4, 5. Driving under suspension. Operating a motor vehicle while your license is under suspension is a first-degree misdemeanor, and if convicted, you are subject to a fine of up to $1,000. You may also be sentenced to an additional 1-year driver license suspension. 2-point credit. A person who has accumulated at least 2 but no more than 11 points TF traffic violations may earn a 2-point credit toward his or her driving record by completing an approved remedial driving course. For the names of schools offering such a course in your area, go to www.drivertraining.ohio.gov and click on Approved Schools. 52 Note: the conviction company will not count all rates. All 2-point credit offered under this program does not mean that any is erased from your official driving record or that your insurance prior convictions against you on setting premium convictions remain on your record for 3 years from the conviction, and combined from convictions within a 2-year period will result but po date in a 12-point suspension. Senate Bill 123, effective January 1, 2004. Individuals to enroll in a remedial driving classes in order to receive a 2-point credit, up to 5 times in a lifetime, once every 3 years, permits financial responsibility. Owners and operators of motor vehicles in Ohio must carry a minimum amount of liability coverage in order to legally operate or permit the operation of a motor vehicle. When you apply for Ohio license plates and for a new, renewal or duplicate driver license, you will need to provide the acceptable documents. See Acceptable Documents List, pages 3-6, and sign a sworn statement that you will not operate a motor vehicle without liability insurance or another form of financial responsibility in effect. As an Ohio driver, you must be able to show proof of financial responsibility anytime you receive a moving traffic violation, when you are convicted of a moving traffic violation that requires a court appearance, when you are involved in a traffic accident that requires the filing of an accident report under Section 4509.06 of the Revised Code, or upon receipt of a random verification by mail. Proof must also be shown when a motor vehicle owned by you, but driven by someone else, is involved in a moving traffic violation or reportable traffic crash. To comply with the law, liability coverage of $25,000 to $50,000 for personal injury or death and $25,000 for property damage is required. You may, as an alternative, post a personal bond to cover liability at that level, establish a $30,000 certificate of deposit with the state treasurer, or file a certificate of self-insurance when you own more than 25 motor vehicles. Penalties for failing to show proof of financial responsibility include impoundment of vehicle registration and license plates by the court or BMV, suspension of your driver license and registration until fee and issuance requirements are met on the first offense, 1 year on the second offense and 2 years on additional offenses, plus court costs. The court may grant limited driving privileges on the second offenses after 15 days of the suspension time served, and on third or subsequent offenses after 30 days of the suspension time. Offenders may also have their motor vehicles immobilized or forfeited. Fees for the reinstatement of driving privileges and suspended use. Also file proof of financial responsibility with the BMV, and that the filing is cancelled for any reason during the vigil will be resuspended until a new filing is a form of an SR-22 or bond. If required time frame, The INDIV received and processed by the BMV 53. Every Ohio law enforcement officer is an agent of the BMV for the purposes of enforcing this law. Each is authorized to confiscate the driver license, plow and registration of any Ohio driver who currently is under an order of suspension or impoundment. Vehicle financial responsibility with the BMV. The BMV requires proof of financial responsibility must also be filed for 3 years when anyone accumulates 12 or more points within a 2-year period. If you do not buy the coverage or drop it, the state will suspend your driving privileges. The filing requirement also applies to the owner and/or operator involved in a traffic crash who cannot show proof of financial responsibility at the time of the crash. Suspension of probationary license. Under 18 years of age, the Registrar of Motor Vehicles will automatically suspend for 90 days the driver license of any person who is convicted of or pleads guilty to 2 moving violations. All driving privileges will be suspended for 1 year for 3 moving violations. You may petition your county juvenile court for limited driving privileges. Before your driving privileges can be reinstated, you must comply with all of the reinstatement requirements, pay reinstatement fee, complete juvenile driver improvement course, purchase Typic, and complete driver license exam. 54 Signs. Signal sign pavement markings. Knowledge of signs, signals and pavement markings is a necessity for safing. In order to pass your driving test and to prepare for highway travel, you should know and be able to explain the meaning and use of the following signs, signals and pavement markings. Special information signs. Ohio has a law which requires the drivers and front seat passengers in most cars and trucks to wear their safety belts whenever they ride on Ohio roadways. This special information sign serves as a reminder for motorists to buckle up. Fasten safety belts. State law. State law. You are approaching a section of the highway having a lower speed limit. Reduce speed. Speed zone ahead. Warning signs adjacent to the roadways alert motorists to potential hazardous conditions. Most of these signs retain their traditional yellow color as well as their diamond shape, but on many of the signs, words have been replaced G signs by symbols as illustrated below. The circle is reserved for railroad crossing. You're approaching a curve to the right, then to the left. You are approaching a downgrade. May be supplemented railroad crossing ahead. With trucks use slow gear. You are approaching a curve to sharp turn to the left ahead. Sharp turn to the right, the left, then to the right. Ahead. Sharp turn to the left, sharp turn to the right, then crossroad ahead. Intersection, then to the right to the left. 56 Another road enters from the right. Another road enters from the left. You are approaching an intersection. Turn right or left. 1-lane bridge. The road branches to the right and left ahead. You are approaching a series of curves. Proceed with caution. The vehicle closest to the bridge has the right of way. Slow down, drive carefully. 42-6 The road ahead is slippery when wet. Clearance is limited by a bridge, overhead crosswalk, etc. Traffic is moving in both directions. A flashing red signal means all traffic shall stop before entering intersections. A flashing yellow signal means all traffic shall pass through the intersection with caution. 57 The pennant no passing zone sign can be used to supplement the pass, regulatory sign. Auto and no passing zone. A variety of symbol signs mark locations on highways where people, animals or bicycles frequently cross the road. Crossings. Advanced warning signs. Bicycle crossing, deer crossing signs erected at crossings. Pedestrian crossing, crosswalk for disabled. 58 Schools. Has been given to the school and school crosswalk signs through a pentagon shape. The school sign warns motorists that they are the use of a school zone, while the school crosswalk sign identifies established area. Children are directed to cross a roadway ahead approaching a school zone. School crosswalk merge. Divided highway. The importance of merge and pavement width transition signs is to warn traffic by the use of arrows to illustrate the changes in traffic patterns. 2-lane highway ends, divided highway begins. Divided highway ends, 2-lane highway begins. Traffic merging from right. Merge left, right lane ends ahead. 59 This symbol is reserved for use on the rear of slow-moving vehicles including farm machinery. It is triangular and is colored bright orange with the R border. Old Order Amish groups, which are forbidden by religion to display bright colors, can use alternative reflective materials that include gray, white, black or silver and must cover an area of at least 72 square inches. The slow-moving vehicle sign indicates that special care must be taken when sharing the road with such a vehicle. Extra patience and caution must be exercised when passing slow-moving vehicles. Special only: you are approaching the rear of a slow-moving vehicle, drive with caution, pass with care. Construction warning signs in the construction series have a distinctive orange background. When motorists see an orange sign, they should be alert, reduce speed, and watch for workers and equipment on the highway. On highways that have been closed for construction or repair and appropriate signs have been erected, the motorist must not drive upon, along or across the highway. Road construction ahead, detour, road work ahead. 60 guide signs, brown and white. Browshin and distance signs provide guidance. Service signs are white on blue and blue ending on the type of message. These signs may be green and white on white, or blue and white. Route markers along with green and white provide directions to service facilities such as rest areas, hospitals and rounds. Guide signs directing motorists to public parks and recreational campgrounds have a brown background. Bike route: Hospital EXIT 112 West 40 Stanley East Los Alma 1 mile. Vehicles traffic control signs are designed for the purpose of regulating, warning or guiding vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Stop: clearance of vehicle within intersection. Clearance of vehicle within intersection. Turn 0. Stop: clearance of vehicle within intersection. Clearance of vehicle ahead only. Left only within intersection. Ahead only. Right only. 61 Pedestrian street to finish crossing. Pedestrians on the curb should not enter the intersection when the light is flashing. A flashing don't walk or stop hand signal allows people already in the A steady don't walk or stop hand signal warns pedestrians it is illegal to enter the intersection. Pedestrian symbol lights and hand symbol lights are used in the same sequence as above. Regulatory signs: these signs regulate the movement of traffic. Do not enter signs have been installed at the intersections of one-way roads and at freeway exit ramps. School yield: stop speed limit 20. All traffic in this lane must stop before proceeding. During restricted hours, stop only if other traffic is affected. Look and give way to all oncoming traffic. All traffic must observe posted speed limits in school zones during restricted hours. Do not reserved parking enter used at intersections of one-way roads and at freeway exit ramps. Handicap parking only. Vehicles must display handicapped license plate or placard to use designated area. 62 Prohibitory signs. The word prohibited. The red circle and a slash is standard for all prohibitory signs and represents no. Whenever this symbol appears on a sign, the illustrated action is no left turn permitted. U-turns are not permitted. No right turn permitted. Bicycles are not permitted. Pavement markings: the yellow lines indicate the separation of traffic flow in opposing directions. Thus, all broken lines on two-way, two-lane highways are yellow. Broken yellow lines permit passing, while solid yellow lines still indicate that passing is prohibited. B. Multi-lane, two-way roadways, with exclusive left turn lanes in the middle, are frequently used in urban areas. The center left turn lane is marked with overhead or roadside signs. The lane must not be used for passing. It may be entered only to make the turning movement. Vehicles from either direction may use the lane immediately prior to making a left turn. Yellow lines are also used for left edge lines on one-way roadways. White lines are used as right edge lines on roadways and to delineate the separation of traffic flow in the same direction. Solid white lines are also typically used as the lane line in areas where lane changing is discouraged, i.e., tunnels or bridges having width restrictions, interchange areas where lane changes disrupt traffic flow, and in advance of intersections. Two-way left turn lane sign only. 63 8 Traffic crash reporting requirements: what to do in case of a crash. 1. Stop. 2. Take immediate steps to warn approaching traffic. 3. Aid the injured. Don't move them, but keep them warm. 4. Notify proper authorities. Either the Ohio State Highway Patrol, sheriff or local police. Give your name and address to any person who is injured or to the owner, operator, occupant or attendant of the other vehicles. 5. 6. Gather the following information identifying any other driver in the crash and anyone involved at the scene. Most of it must be provided by law on a motor vehicle crash report and will be helpful in resolving matters relating to the crash. Names, addresses and dates of birth of involved parties, license plate numbers, driver license numbers, name and address of vehicle owner, if other than driver, circumstances of crash, such as weather, condition of the road and traffic controls, year, make and model of vehicles involved. Name and address of other drivers, insurance company. 7. Answer all of the investigating officer's questions, but do not discuss the 8. Trade facts with any other driver, but do not discuss fault or insurance. 9. 10. The driver of a vehicle which is involved in a motor vehicle crash may crash with others. Coverage. If involved in a crash with an unattended vehicle, you must report the crash to the police or leave necessary information at the scene. File Form BMV 3303 Crash Report, available at www.bmv.ohio.gov, with a BMV within 6 months after the crash if both the following apply. 1. There was damage in excess of $400, or personal injury, and 2. The driver or owner of the other vehicle did not have insurance or other financial responsibility coverage at the time of the crash. 11. Notify your insurance company as soon as possible what to do in case you hit a deer. If you hit a deer and cause its death, you may take possession of the deer by law, as long as you report the collision to a game protector or other law enforcement officer within 24 hours. The protector or officer will then investigate and issue a certificate entitling you to the carcass. It is illegal to take a deer carcass without reporting it. 64.9 Special Conditions. Night driving. When driving at night, maintain a cautious, reasonable speed. By driving a reasonable speed, you will be able to stop in the distance illuminated by U headlights when you are closely following another vehicle and another vehicle is approaching yours. Be sure to dim your headlights. Use the upper beams only for if a car approaches you with bright lights on. Do not stare at the lights. Stare. Pedestrians walking alongside the roads or crossing streets do not realize that. Keep your windows clean. Glare caused by lights shining on dirty glass. Fatigue, which slows down perception and reaction time, is a significant. Driving in open country with a clear road ahead by the line at the outside edge of the road to prevent being temporarily blinded. Motorists cannot see them. Be sure to watch for pedestrians. Reduces visibility at night. Factor in nighttime crashes. Be sure to pull off of the road and rest if you are tired. Lighting lights must be displayed. 1. Between sunset and sunrise. 2. During any period of rain, snow, fog or other unfavorable atmospheric conditions, regardless of the time of day. At any other time when natural light conditions do not make it possible to see objects 1,000 feet ahead clearly at any time, windshield wipers are used. 3. 4. Winter driving. When roads are snow-covered or icy, reduce your speed. Driving in the winter is much different than driving in any other season of the year. No matter what road or weather conditions are encountered, a slower speed is necessary for safe handling of your automobile. Be sure that your car is in excellent operating condition. Lights, brakes, windshield wipers, defroster, radiator and other parts of the car should be in perfect order, particularly for the winter. Snow tires are a good precaution. Tire chains can be a big help in severe snow and ice conditions. Pavement or window slightly open. This will help the windshield remain clear of fog and also guard against possible carbon monoxide buildup. Remember, added spots on the highway will hold frost and ice while other portions of the pavement are dry. The same is true of bridges, which will hold frost and ice while the rest of the road may be safe. In the winter, it is often necessary to stop suddenly. To prevent skidding, intermittently apply light pressure to the brakes. 65. Anti-lock brake systems do not require pumping. This pumping action will reduce momentum without losing traction and without locking the brakes. If your vehicle does go into a skid, take your foot off the accelerator and turn the steering wheel in the direction of the skid. Never apply the brakes while skidding. When starting a car that is parked on top of ice, move very slowly. The tires will have a better chance to grip if they are turned slowly. Starting in second or a low gear will also help. Put a greater distance than usual between you and other vehicles. This is necessary because cars need a greater stopping distance on slippery roads. How to steer out of a skid. Driving in fog. Fog is one of the most hazardous conditions a motorist can drive in. Because most motorists drive slowly in fog, few collisions occur. However, when collisions do occur, There are often chain reaction crashes on the freeway resulting in fatalities and serious extensive damage. When driving in fog, slow down. You may have to stop at any time. If the stopping distance for the speed you are traveling is greater than the distance you can see in front of you, you will be unable to stop if there is an obstruction on the road. See Stopping Distance, Chapter 3. Use your low beam headlights, not your brights. Move with the flow of traffic. Keep a consistent distance behind the car in front of you so the cars behind you may do the same if you are involved in a collision. Get your car off the road as quickly as possible. If you cannot move your vehicle, leave your flashers and lights on and set up flares if you have them. Don't sit in the car waiting for help. Cautiously move as far off the road as possible. Drive with your window open. Shift your gaze instead of staring. Freeway driving. Getting onto an expressway. If you are aware that you will have to make a left-hand turn onto a freeway entrance ramp, do not wait until the last second to get into the left turn lane. Move into the turn lane several blocks early. Once you enter the on-ramp, accelerate. If your car is moving 30 miles per hour, it will be nearly impossible to merge with traffic moving almost twice as fast. When you reach the end of a freeway on-ramp, weather and ramp condition permitting, you should be traveling as close as possible to the speed of traffic. Always use your turn signal to let other drivers know that you are planning to well into the stream of traffic. As you reach the end of the ramp, keep a close eye on the car ahead, and use your outside mirror to help spot a likely opening. A driver entering the highway. You are required to yield to motorists already on a freeway. They have the right of way. However, if you are moving at or near the speed of the surrounding cars, it should be simple to merge with the traffic flow. The traffic movement. Once you are in a lane, stay in it. Do not weave in and out of lanes. Observe and obey signs. Moving at a fast speed means that you will need more room between you and the car ahead of you in case of an emergency. Follow no closer than 1 car length for every 10 miles of speed. Remember the 3-second rule. Maintain your speed at or just below the posted speed limit. Moving significantly slower than other traffic can cause a hazard. Watch for signs. Note and changes in speed limits, especially when you approach construction zones or heavily populated area. To get off an expressway, watch for signs, signal your proper turnoff, and move to the correct exit lane. Use your turn signal to indicate when and where you will be exiting. Stay at the speed of traffic until you reach the exit ramp, then slow down. Continue to slow down and stop if required before entering the cross highway or street. If you miss your exit, take the next one. It is illegal to stop, to back or to drive into the median, or cross over on an interstate highway if you feel tired while you are driving. Be on guard against highway monotony. As stated earlier, fatigue is a significant factor in highway crashes. Follow these simple tips to avoid fatigue. Play the radio. Engage in light conversation. Stop periodically to stretch your legs and have a cup of coffee or a cold drink. Do not continue to drive if you become too tired. Pull off the road and rest. When to use lights. Lights must be displayed between sunset and sunrise and during any periods of rain, snow, fog or other unfavorable atmospheric conditions regardless of the time of day. Lights also need to be used at any time when natural light conditions do not make it possible to clearly see objects 1,000 feet ahead. Lights must be used whenever windshield wipers are used. 67 Vehicle problems. If a tire blows out. A blowout when traveling at a high rate of speed is dangerous, especially if the driver does not realize it. Follow these tips for a safe recovery. Do not panic. Keep your foot off the accelerator, and let the vehicle coast until it stops. When the blowout is a rear tire, sudden application to the brakes will set up a tail sway, which is difficult to control. If your wheels run off the pavement, it is possible that at one time or another, your vehicle's wheels will run off the pavement onto the berm or soft shoulder. If this occurs, follow these tips to return safely on the road. Do not try to jerk the tires immediately back onto the road. Stop accelerating. Allow the vehicle to coast to a slower speed. When the car has slowed, gradually steer back onto the roadway. As soon as all 4 wheels are on the pavement, straighten the front wheels and proceed with traffic. Defensive driving. Learn to be a defensive driver. Watch out for the other driver's mistakes. Reading this book carefully will help you know what to watch for, but this is not always enough. Many adults have benefited by taking a defensive driving course, DDC, sponsored by the National Safety Council, at work or through a local safety council. If you are interested in taking a DDC, contact your local safety council. Sharing the road with trucks. No zone trucks have limitations in terms of maneuverability, stopping distance and blind spots. Generally speaking, the bigger they are, the bigger their blind spots. The more room they need to maneuver, the longer it takes them to stop. The longer it takes them to pass. Many of the crashes involving trucks could be avoided if motorists remembered a truck's limitations. Steer clear of unsafe situations involving trucks. Mail carrier vehicles. When following a mail carrier vehicle, all traffic laws regarding stopping and passing apply. See Stopping and Passing, Chapter 6, 68. Inoperable traffic signals. At times, power outages can result in non-working traffic signals. This situation can be extremely dangerous, particularly when a law enforcement officer is not present to direct traffic at the disabled traffic light. By law, except when a law enforcement officer is present to direct traffic, drivers must rate the non-working traffic signal as a four-way stop. After stopping, due care should be taken before proceeding through the intersection, as other drivers may wrongfully view the inoperable traffic signal as clearance to proceed without stopping. 10. Bicycles. Traffic laws. Bicyclists must ride with, not against, other vehicular traffic. Only when. Bicyclists are required to obey all traffic signs, signals and pavement. Bicyclists must use appropriate hand signals before turning or stopping. Walking a bicycle. Is a bicyclist permitted to travel facing traffic markings? Alternative right turn signal is right hand and arm extended horizontally and to the right side of the bicycle. See page 41. Bicyclists must keep to the right edge of the roadway, allowing faster traffic to safely pass. Bicyclists can travel in the middle of the lane if they are proceeding at the same speed as the rest of the traffic or the lane is too narrow to share safely with a motor vehicle. Conditions that may require riding away from the edge of the roadway includes when necessary to avoid fixed or moving objects, parked or moving vehicles, surface hazards, or if it otherwise is unsafe or impracticable to do so. Bicyclists should not pass other traffic on a hill or at an intersection. Bicyclists must observe speed restrictions in school zones and speed. State law also permits local governments to regulate bicycle operation. Bicyclists must stop at a curb to allow emergency vehicles to pass. Limits in general, such as requiring bicycle licensing and registration. Bicyclists must familiarize themselves with local ordinances to be properly educated about all of the laws affecting them. Bicycle laws. Bicyclists must never ride on the freeway, or attach themselves to other vehicles using the roadway. Bicyclists should ride upon or astride the permanent attached seat of the bicycle. Passengers should not be carried unless the bike is equipped for it, and at least one hand should be kept on the handlebars at all times. Bicyclists should ride no more than two abreast in a single lane, except on paths set aside for the exclusive use of bicycles. 69. Every bicycle ridden after dark must be equipped with a white headlight, a red tail light, and a red rear reflector. A bicycle may be equipped with a device capable of giving an audible signal, except that a bicycle shall not be equipped with, nor shall any person use upon a bicycle any siren or whistle. Every bicycle must have an adequate brake. Sharing the road with bicyclists. A motorist must share the road with bicycles. The bicyclist has the same right to use the public road as any other driver, except freeways. ORC 4511.52, the bicyclist. Leave ample room when turning right after passing a bicyclist so the maintain a safety zone of approximately 3 feet between the car and pass a bicyclist only when it can be done safely. Bicyclist is not cut off when the motorist slows for the turn. 11. Pedestrians. Under the motor vehicle laws of Ohio, pedestrians have definite rights as well as certain duties and responsibilities in traffic. Knowledge of traffic laws is the pedestrian's best defense in traffic and the best protection against death or injury in a crash. Signs and signals. Pedestrians, as well as vehicle drivers, are subject to traffic control signs and signals. For instance, they may walk on the green light in the direction of traffic for which they have the right of way. When crossing streets, pedestrians should watch for drivers turning on red. Pedestrian control signals. Whenever special pedestrian control signals or other traffic control devices exhibit the words walk, don't walk, or wait, pedestrians should be guided as follows: walk, Pedestrians facing this signal may proceed across the roadway in the direction of the signal and will be given the right-of-way by the drivers of all other vehicles. Don't walk/wait. No pedestrian may start to cross the roadway. Look in both directions. Pedestrians should not step onto a public road or highway without looking in both directions to see what vehicles may be approaching in traffic. They should not leave a sidewalk or place of safety and walk or run into the path of a vehicle that is so close that it is an immediate hazard. 70. Use crosswalk. No pedestrian shall cross a roadway within a municipality at a place other than a crosswalk, marked or unmarked. When not crossing at a crosswalk, the pedestrian must yield the right-of-way to vehicular traffic. Walking along roadway when usable walks or paths parallel to the street or highway are present, pedestrians shall not walk in, along or upon the vehicular portion of the roadway when there is no usable sidewalk. Pedestrians are required to walk on the road shoulder or berm where possible. When this is not possible, they must walk as near as possible to the edge of the road, facing oncoming traffic. These requirements apply to joggers as well as walkers. Pedestrians prohibited on freeways. No pedestrian is permitted within the limits of the right-of-way of a freeway, except within a rest area, in the performance of public works, or as a result of an emergency or a breakdown of a motor vehicle. Drawbridges and railroads. Pedestrians are prohibited from drawbridges after the bridge operation signal has been given. Similarly, people afoot are banned from crossing a railroad track when a barrier is down and or lights are flashing. Hitching. Soliciting a ride from the driver of a vehicle, while on a roadway outside a safety zone is forbidden. Standing on a highway to solicit business or contributions is also forbidden. Public safety vehicles. People afoot must yield the right-of-way to public safety vehicles, ambulances, police, fire vehicles, etc., approaching with sirens sounding and lights flashing. Blind pedestrians. People who are blind are the only pedestrians authorized by law to carry white canes, or white canes with red tips. The law provides that the blind carrying such canes, as well as those with guide dogs, are to be given the right-of-way by every driver. Alcohol and drugs. Persons under the influence of alcohol, drugs or both are prohibited from walking on highways. 71. Reflective clothing. When walking at night, pedestrians are advised to wear reflective strips or clothing to aid motorists in seeing them throwing or dropping objects on highways. It is prohibited by Ohio law to throw or drop any object on a road or highway. A person who accidentally drops an object on a highway must remove it immediately. The law provides stiff penalties for deliberately throwing objects on highways, and if injury or death results, the person at fault could be charged with assault or murder. 12. Litter laws. Under Ohio law, litter is any trash thrown, discarded or dropped by a person onto public property, private property not owned by the individual, or into Ohio's waterways. Ohio Revised Code prohibits littering, regardless of whether or not it was intentional. Littering is a serious offense, punishable by fines of up to $1,000 and or 6 months in jail. Municipalities may apply local litter laws in addition to those listed below. Littering from a motor vehicle. Littering from a motor vehicle is a violation of state law. Drivers can be cited for littering, just as they are for other traffic violations, and can also be held responsible for litter discarded by their passengers. Unsecured load. No vehicle shall be driven or moved on any high constructed, loaded or covered as to prevent any of its load from dropping, sifting, leaking or otherwise escaping. Sand or other substances may be dropped for the purpose of securing traction. Water or another substance may be sprinkled on a roadway in cleaning or maintaining the roadway. Other exceptions to this law include farm vehicles transporting agricultural products and trash vehicles in the process of acquiring their loads. Weigh unless the vehicle is so. Littering and illegal dumping. Leaving any trash or discarded items on any public or private land or waterway can result in fines or jail time. State law also prohibits the placement of trash in someone else's trash receptacle without permission from the owner unless the receptacle is intended for public use, or the trash was generated on the property where the receptacle is located. 72. Polluting state lands or waters. Littering on state land, or in any ditch, stream, river, lake, pond or other watercourse, which is part of a larger surface or groundwater system, is prohibited. Penalties apply if the litter is close enough to a body of water to be pulled in during flooding. Throwing refuse, oil or filth into lakes, streams or drains, dumping coal refuse, petroleum and petroleum products into public waterways is a violation of state law. Littering from a boat, littering or failing to retrieve litter that blows from watercraft is prohibited. Abandoned motor vehicles, leaving a junked motor vehicle on the owner for more than 72 hours is a violation of state law. Private property without the consent of abandoned appliances. State law requires the removal of latches, hinges or other hardware of any airtight or semi-airtight container left in any area accessible to children. 73 are example test questions from Class D Knowledge Test 1. What is the most important driving technique to avoid crashes when driving in icy or snowy conditions? A. Add extra weight to the vehicle to improve traction. B. Get off the highways as quickly as possible. C. Engage four-wheel drive on the vehicle. D. Reduce speed and increase following distance. A. Flashing red traffic signal at an intersection has the same requirements as which of the following? A. A slow sign. B. A yield sign. C. A stop sign. D. An intersection sign. 2. 3. The application for an operator's license must be signed by the parent or guardian when the applicant is under what age? A. 16. B. 20. C. 21. D. 18. 4. Unless it is posted otherwise, the speed limit in a residential area is A. 25 miles per hour. B. 20 miles per hour. C. 35 miles per hour. D. 15 miles per hour. 5. Child restraints are required for which of the following? All children who are under the age of 8 and are less than 40%. All children for whom the driver of the car is the parent or guardian. All children who are seated in a front seat. All children who are under the age of 6 when airbags are not available. A, B, C, D. 6. When traveling on a highway divided into 4 traffic lanes, which vehicles are required to stop for a school bus that has stopped to unload children? A. Only vehicles approaching the rear of the bus traveling in the same bay. C, D direction as the bus. All vehicles approaching the bus from either direction. No one is required to stop unless children are in view. All vehicles may pass the bus after providing an audible signal. 79. When 2 vehicles arrive at an intersection at the same time, which one has the right of way when no signs or signals indicate? Rules. A. The car approaching from the right has the right of way. B. The car approaching from the left has the right of way. C. The car in which the driver sounds his horn first has the right of way. D. The car that is traveling faster has the right of way. 7. 8. If someone has consumed alcoholic drinks, what will help the person overcome the influence of those drinks? A. Tomato juice and lime. B. Hot coffee. C. Fresh air. D. Time. When is a driver permitted to turn right on a red traffic signal? A. When the driver has stopped and checked to see that the turn will not 9. Interfere with crossing traffic. B. When signs are clearly posted to allow a right turn on red. C. Only at the direction of a police officer. D. After first slowing and verifying the turn will not interfere with other traffic and pedestrians. 10. When a stop is required at an intersection and no markings appear to indicate a stop line or crosswalk, which of the following is the appropriate place to make the stop? A. The driver is not required to stop. B. The driver is required to slow down to make sure crossing traffic is clear. C. Only at a place where the driver can see at least 200 feet on either side without regard for the intersecting roadway. D. At the point nearest the intersecting roadway where the driver has a view of approaching traffic on the intersecting roadway before actually entering the roadway. Answers 1, D2, C3, D4, A5, A10, D6, A7, A8, D9, A80.